Hey, welcome everyone. It's October 24th of 2022. We are here to share with you all about this amazing frequency device here called the Healy. And I'm joined by Ray Jatan and Lori Falk as well as our other panelists. We are board members with Healy, meaning they have selected us out of the thousands of distributors here in the United States to be able to give some feedback to the company corporately. Just means we've been doing this for a while and have had some success sharing Healy with people. So hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions tonight. If you do have questions, please type them into the chat. Of course, we're going to answer a lot of questions just naturally going through this presentation. But if there's something that doesn't quite make sense, just type it in there and one of us will help try to answer that as well. So this is the device here. And for those of you that are not familiar with what frequencies are or energy medicine is, I just want to give you a quick overview of what that means. So when I first heard about this, I wasn't very familiar with energy medicine, but I was into doing my health more holistically and trying to avoid pharmaceutical drugs and going to a traditional doctor as much as I can. Just that's a last resort for me, okay, to go to the doctor or emergency room or something. But when a doctor friend of mine, a holistic doctor, called me and told me about the Healy, I was intrigued because I had heard of a Rife machine from way back in the 1930s, where there was this man that had invented a machine where you'd hold on to these rods and it would send current, like an electrical current, through your cells. And he found that at very specific frequencies that it would have an effect at the cellular level. And he was having results with big diseases and things we're probably not supposed to say, right? Because the FDA will consider it as some type of a medical claim that we can heal things, right? So they actually, the American Medical Association was at that point making their decision to go into pharmaceutical drugs as the way of treating people. And so way back in the 1930s, they kind of shut down this man's lab, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. And kind of promoted him as being a quack and not knowing what he's talking about, even though he's having such amazing results using frequencies. So the concept is that every cell in our body is a little power plant. It has a cellular voltage to it. We are energy. All these trillions of cells in our body are just little energy power plants. And a liver cell and a hair cell and a brain cell, they all have a different ideal frequency or resonance or a vibration to it. And we found that if you can add energy at a specific frequency, you can have an effect. Now, some people do that with sound frequencies. You may have heard of listening to YouTube videos where they have different sounds at different frequencies or different types of music that will actually have a health effect. And I have a lot of people, when I ask them, have you ever heard of this idea of frequencies? They say, oh yeah, I listen to this music or these tones, or they do something called singing bowls, or there's a lot of people that do with audio frequencies. But you can also do frequencies with light or microcurrent. There's things called scalar waves. There's things called radionics. There's lots of different ways to provide frequency. And when you do that, the cell at the cellular level, what's happening is you get increased ATP production, which is the energy of the cell. You get protein synthesis is increased, amino acid transport is increased in the body. There's these physical things that happen. And then we found the same thing happens with brain waves and emotions. Those are all frequency as well. Everything's frequency. In fact, you may have heard this quote from Nikola Tesla, famous quantum physicist. He said, if you want to understand the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And then around that same time, Dr. Albert Einstein, another famous quantum physicist that I'm sure you've heard of, he said the future of health will be the future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. That was his quote. So this is the future, okay? Maybe 25 years ago, this type of idea of energy and frequency kind of picked up steam again, especially over in Europe. About 15 years ago, a company called Time Waver was invented by a man named Marcus Schmiecka. He's a quantum physicist. He was a monk for 10 years. He's a very interesting guy, but he has a great device that we'll hear a little bit more about. And then, but that was more for practitioners and very expensive. And then they developed this Healy just a few years ago. And really the goal is that everyone would have access to frequencies. So this is small and wearable. You can just put it right here on your shirt or put it in your pocket. We'll show you a little demonstration of that in a minute, but that's the basic idea of frequencies. So a lot of holistic practitioners, even people like massage therapists and chiropractors, they understand this idea of frequency and energy already. They're promoting that in their practices already. So this isn't brand new, and it's not crazy, and it's not quacky stuff. Okay, it's real science. It's quantum physics, and we're going to get into that here with you right now. So first, I'd love for Ray to come on and share your story, Ray. And if you want to tell a little bit more about what time waver is and how the Healy came to be, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I I had my first experience with a frequency device about 5, almost 6 years ago. Through some friends, I met a lady that owned a larger practitioner device that she carried around in a briefcase. And when I was in another state, we connected and sat down with her, and she plugged the device into her computer. And within, gosh, it took about 3.5 hours at that point for the scan and for her to send frequencies to me. But that's the way it was promoted to me. My friends said that she had this frequency device that could scan your body looking for things that were out of balance, and then she could deliver frequencies with the device. And so back then I paid $150 for this sitting fee, just to be scanned. Now, she did send some frequencies into me too, but I was so intrigued because I didn't tell her anything going into the scan. We didn't know each other prior, but she said, number one, I can see that you're a type 1 diabetic, which I have been for 37, almost 38 years now. Number two, you have a low thyroid, which I knew was true. She said I also had E. coli and bacteria in my system, and that I dealt with depression and anxiety, which was all true. And so I looked into trying to get one of those devices because I was so intrigued. I mean, how awesome would it be to have a device like this in your own possession to determine the things that are going to go wrong with us, and then be able to address those type of things? How much money could somebody save potentially at a doctor's office, and just time? I mean, when you're diabetic, they want to see you every 3 months, and it's pretty costly to have that awful disease. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I've often told people that I can't afford to have a regular job, because I would stay broke because of that diabetes disease. So that's why I've always stayed self-employed, um, to move my income forward without somebody holding me back. But fast forward 3 years from that point where I learned about frequency medicine, from that practitioner, I find out about the Healy. And I found out about it because of my son, who had some issues going on. He was, well, he's 17 now. So, see, I'm a senior dad. I've got a senior in high school. But in just a couple of years ago, he was 15 years old, and he had a major growth spurt where he grew 6 inches in like 8 months. It was crazy. So fast that he's got stretch marks on his back. And he was trying to play soccer for high school, but the poor kid couldn't walk, let alone run. And so when my closest friends saw him, they said, "Hey, we just bought this cool little device, and it's out of Germany, and it's cleared here in the US for chronic and acute arthritis, muscle pain, and chronic pain, arthritis pain, and muscle pain due to overexertion." But they said it does so many other things because it's a scanner, and it has hundreds of other non-medical type programs in there, like for sleeping and digestion and hormones and stress. Gosh, you name it, it's in this little device. So I saw it work on my son in 20 minutes. uh they said, it's cleared by the FDA. It's a German device. I said, we don't have anything to lose. We've spent a lot of money on this kid. Let's hook him up and see what it can do. And 20 minutes later, the program was over. 2 hours later, the kid's walking normal. And my wife says, "Oh my goodness." She said, "We got to have one of those." So we had one ordered before we ever got back to Missouri. And learning that it was a quantum sensor and a scanner, that it could scan my body similar to what that larger practitioner model could do. I was fiddling with this thing all the time, trying to figure out what else can this thing do. And it was just exciting. My wife came home one day and she had an issue going on, and I'm a recovering heating and air conditioning contractor. I fix things for a living. So um, when she came home and gave me this issue she was dealing with, I said, "Well, why don't you do a scan and run a program?" She says, "How do you expect me to do that? You're the darn Healy hog," because I had it all the time. And so I ended up buying a second device just for her because I didn't want to give mine up. So we've had a lot of fun with this thing, and we really weren't looking at it for a business opportunity of any sort. We just wanted the benefits of the device. But it's hard when you have something so great, it's hard for you not to talk about it. And so that's how I ended up starting to move this forward. And in 10 months time, it basically allowed me to retire from the heating and air conditioning industry that I've been in for 38 years. So um as I looked more into Time Waver and who makes the device, Time Waver is the parent company, and those devices that sit on those desks in the practitioner's office, they're quite expensive. We're talking $40,000 plus, or up to $40,000 plus the training and the flight to Germany, and probably licensing fees and everything else. So it was the practitioners that went to the owner of the company, Marcus Schmika, and said, "We need something else that we can use that's an extension to our care, so that the clients could take it home and run those frequencies more frequently than coming into the office every day to be treated." So that's how this came about. And they spent, $100 million on the technology to put it all together. And they launched it to these practitioners back in 2017. So between 2017 2019, they saw that their investment hadn't necessarily been paid for. So they were trying to figure out what other ways can we take this to market outside of the practitioner. So then they flipped it more into the social selling arena, where people like you and me, average people, could get our hands on this and start using it for ourselves, for our families, and share it with the people that we loved and cared about. And that's how we started moving this forward. When I got started, one of David's friends was the person that was referred to me to get more information. And when I reached out to him, he said, "Ray, if you're going to buy another device for your wife, Nikki, then you need to know that if you sell 3 of these, they're going to send you another one for free." And that was all I was concerned about. When he said free, I'm all about the free stuff, right? So that's how I got my start. I just wanted to share this with 3 people. I figured, well, I start with 6, maybe end up with 10. And it didn't take that much. Basically, I was trying to figure out, how do I share this with somebody without them thinking I had to sell them anything. So number one, I thought, okay, it's a German device. To me, that means it's quality. It's cleared by the FDA for chronic and acute pain, arthritis, and muscle soreness. So that added credibility for me and most others. Number four, it was a scanner, and that it could scan looking for unique things in our body, not just for pain, but for sleeping and depression, anxiety, and gosh, you name it, it's in there. But the key thing I told them was, you know, I'm looking to try to help some people, and I would appreciate the opportunity to do a free personal scan for you just so that you can understand what this device can do. And regardless of the fact that you may want one of these, regardless of that, we need to help some people. And I would petition them for the compassion side of just helping other people. And so every one of those 6 people said, yeah, I'll let you do a free personal frequency scan for me. And then after we did the scan, it was really awesome because they would look at the paper that we were filling out, and then they would say, how did it know that? Only I would know that. They would say, how did it know that? And I would just have to simply say, you know what, I'm not the quantum physicist. I have no idea how this thing works, but I know it's right every single time. And every single time, all 6 of those people said, I gotta have one. And that's how we got started with this company. And it just continues to amaze me every day of how amazing this little device is and what it reveals. So now I'd like to introduce my good friend Laurie Falk, who is an amazing practitioner, health and wellness coach, um, and an artist on top of that. So we're glad Lori's on here with us almost every week, and we appreciate her point of view as a practitioner. So Lori, thank you again for being here with us tonight.
Oh, it's an honor to do this with you and David Ray. So thank you very much for that lovely introduction. So as Ray said, I'm Lori Falk, and I am a health and wellness coach. And the area of expertise that I really focus on in my practice is the science of epigenetics. And this device, I have run 3 a day. I'm running programs on clients, myself, my dog, is an epigenetic emotional healing tool. It's working on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels simultaneously. That is a lot to understand, but what I'm going to tell you is it's raising your consciousness every time you use it. So that's a little extra for those of you who understand that aspect of things. So my story goes back 2.5 decades, and it was 25 years ago. And biofeedback, which is essentially what these devices are, they're biofeedback devices, saved my life. I had been suffering with major depressive disorder, chronic fatigue, and severe anxiety disorder. And I was being medicated like crazy in the traditional medical model. And I didn't really know about holistic health and wellness at the time. So for a year, I was drugged. Let's just call a spade a spade. I was drugged, had tons of meds thrown at me, and spent a year on the couch. And it clearly wasn't working. So by the grace of God, a friend of mine invited me to dinner at a naturopath's home, and she and I connected, and I went in the next day for a session with her, not knowing a thing about holistic health and wellness. And she taught me, her name is Sandra Dobiash, and she taught me so much over the years. And I'm always so grateful for her. She actually had one of those high-end biofeedback devices that Ray was mentioning to you. It wasn't the Time Waver, because the Time Waver wasn't in existence back then. For those of you who may or may not have heard of it, it was the QXCI, which has had many incarnations since, and I believe EPFX, et cetera, et cetera. Irregardless, it is one of those amazing high-end devices that, $40,000 will get you. So she did a scan on me, and she said, were you ever in an accident? And I said, as a matter of fact, I was. I was in New York City hailing a cab, and I was hit in the neck by a truck. near-death experience, knocked me out cold. I don't even remember getting hit. I do remember waking up and the wheels were this close to running me over. Now, why do I tell you that? Because it's so important to understand the impact that must have had on my neck. It was a really severe hit, and that was the part of my body that got hit. The muscles over the years, the pain in my neck was excruciating, and the muscles contracted to the point that the C1 through C3 vertebrae were compressed. And the biofeedback device showed that in her original scan. There isn't a doctor alive that would have ever figured that out, but that biofeedback device figured it out. And my naturopath, Sandy, looked at me and said, here's the deal. You can take all the meds in the world that you want, but most of your neurotransmitters get made in your gut. And those neurotransmitters aren't getting up your spinal column into your brain where they need to be to impact your moods and keep you happy and elevated and stress-free. So the beauty of it is that biofeedback devices not only scan, but they have the ability to then send frequencies to correct whatever the imbalance is. And I would go and have sessions every once in a while, as often as I could afford it. I think back then the sessions were $100. Today they're anywhere from $200 to $300 a session. So while I would have loved to have gone every week, it wasn't in my budget at that point in time, especially dealing with the major illnesses that I was dealing with. And I just really was amazed at the accuracy of how it found what was wrong. It wasn't just an imbalance in neurotransmitters like it is for many people who deal with mental illness or depression or anxiety. It was actually a physiological cause. So flash forward to 2 years ago when someone called me up and told me about the Healy, and they described it. And I said, that sounds like a QXCI. It sounds like a biofeedback device. And that's when I found out that the Healy is actually the stepchild of the time waver device. And like Ray was saying, the practitioners knew you couldn't get enough frequencies to the patients without them having a device in their own home. And so they went to Marcus and said, we need an affordable wearable feedback device. And Marcus took it on and said, I want to create a device that's so well received and so priced so effectively that we can get it into 100 million families' homes in 10 years. Well, just think about what that's going to do for the frequency and consciousness of the planet. Not to mention that someone like myself can now run these frequencies every day. So biofeedback saved my life, but it didn't stop the depressive episodes. For 25 years, I still had depressive episodes until I got my Healy, because then I could run the frequencies whenever I needed them. And there was the January after I got the device, I felt a depressive episode coming on, and I grabbed my Healy and I ran the mental balance programs, hooked up with the cables just like this, which are also hooked up to the device, went for a walk. And when I came back an hour and a half later, I felt fine. I stopped the depressive episode in its tracks. That to me was mind blowing. And so I often say biofeedback saved my life. Healy gave me my life back. And knock on wood, I have not had a major depressive episode since I've had my Healy. And so in Europe, it's actually cleared for things like anxiety and depression. It's not in the US, but I'm here to tell you it works. And not only does it work on us, but I have a beautiful little dog that's behind me, and I'm not even going to say her name because if I do, she'll come running up here and want to jump on my lap. But she's a rescue and came to me with major fears, major trauma, and she was afraid of her own shadow. I started running the Healy on her, And I would run the Bach flower essences and the bush flower essences, which would actually give me a peek into what was going on in her emotional field. And then I would run the balancing frequencies. And several weeks into this, my neighbors started to say to me, "What are you doing with your dog? It's like she's a different person." And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, she's friendly, she's outgoing, her little personality seems like it's blossoming. So not only did I have a peek into what she was feeling, but it was correcting all the trauma and helping her to release all that trauma and helping her to actually grow and evolve into this most amazing, incredible, fabulous little cockapoo that she is. So any of you out there who have pets who want to take a peek into what's going on with them emotionally that they normally can't tell you without you hiring an animal communicator, the Healy's fabulous for them as well. And then from a practitioner standpoint, here's what I want you to know. The Healy now has, and we're not going to go over this portion of it tonight because we're giving you the basic overview, but there is absolutely a Healy coaching module. I've been a health and wellness coach for 20 years. I won't coach anyone anymore unless they buy a Healy. The reason being, I can help them find in 6 minutes what it would take us 6 months without that module to find. It's just so accurate and so spot on that it pulls all this information up that's floating around in your subconscious. I'm a great coach. I can find it, but it takes time. It takes time for the client to feel comfortable. It takes time for the client to trust you enough to be that vulnerable to admit that that might be going on. But when I run an analysis in the coaching module around an issue that's coming up for them, and it shows them a printout in black and white, here's what's going on. Here's what's in the way of you not being able to get from point A to point B. And it is so spot on accurate that they can't deny it. And it's not my opinion, but when it's in black and white, they know it and they understand it and they believe it. And then we can go in and run the frequencies to actually shake those limiting beliefs and blocks loose. And a lot of that stuff, here's the kicker, is passed on to you generationally from your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors, and it will tell you exactly where it's coming from. So it's a fascinating module. Anyone who wants more information on that can feel free to reach out to me. I'll post my email in the chat, and we can always discuss that in more depth and detail because it's the most complex portion of this device, and we don't want to confuse you all with all that information tonight. But from a practitioner standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from a pet mom standpoint, there's nothing like the Healy, absolutely nothing. And I'm just so grateful. I haven't sold any. They sell themselves. Everybody just calls me up and asks me how to get them because they see how excited I am about them. So, David, why don't you show everybody how this amazing little device works?
Yeah, absolutely will. Well, I want to make sure I have my coil. I should have had that ready, and I do not have it.
That's okay. I'll show them mine right now.
Right.
You can see it's got a scalar wave frequencies. See all those going around in the circle? There's those 2 different coils right in there, and it's amazing. You can either use it with the electrode bracelets like I am, or you can take this and put it right into those same holes, and now you've got scalar wave technology.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, like Lori showed, I have mine set up right now with the wires going to these electrodes on my wrists, or we have these types of electrodes that are just adhesive that you place on your body. So if you have knee pain, you could put one of these on each side of your knee, and instead of plugging these into the wrists, you would snap them onto these adhesive electrodes and put them right on your body and run frequencies for knee pain, for instance. The coil that she showed you was invented later, maybe just a year ago or so, and it is really cool because then you can do frequencies without the wires. So why would you want both? Well, it's just different applications. The wires are sending the frequencies through the water and the cells in your body between these two electrodes. So it's going through between the two wrists. Basically, electricity travels through water, so that you're made of water, and that's going to go through the whole body. So it's a very, very low current of obviously just the rechargeable battery in this little device, but at very specific frequencies. If you do turn up the intensity, you can feel it a little bit in your hands, so you do know that something's happening, but it's really cool. So that's the idea. Healy wouldn't want you to do this all day long, though. You can overdo it, you can detox. They say run a program, wait a few hours, run another program, wait a few hours. So you might do 3 or 4 in a day. But when you do it with the coil, you can do those as much as you want, because that's balancing the energy in that bioenergetic field around your body, or that is also known as an electromagnetic field, for instance. So that bioenergetic field is important, and that's also what the Healy is reading. When I run a program in real time, the Healy is actually scanning that bioenergetic field, which the quantum physicists call this the information field, because it's full of information. And they can see which frequencies are out of balance or out of alignment, and know then which frequencies to give you. So the Healy does that in real time, and it's individualized. So this is unique almost to any other device besides Healy, in that we can scan as it's delivering the frequencies. It's altering and changing the program for you individually. A Rife machine, they still make them. They were started 30 years ago, but you can still buy a Rife machine out of China, for instance. But it will be, typically one frequency. You look up a condition in a big book, and let's say you want to do something for the liver, and you just type in the one frequency and hit start, and sending you one frequency. The Healy will have a program for the liver, but it'll have hundreds of frequencies that they've discovered, but it will scan your field and adjust those frequencies for you in real time. So let's actually show you how that works. I'm going to share my screen, my phone screen, because we control the Healy with either a smartphone or a tablet. Here we go. Zoom is telling me I need to download a plugin really quick. So we'll do that. And of course, it's not going really quick. So, they're now speeding up. All right, so I'll show you here just on my screen that we have several different Healy apps. The top 3 are the ones that we usually concentrate on the most. Okay, this should work now. All right, so now I should be able to go like this and zoom. Okay, so now you're seeing my phone screen, and here's those Healy apps. I'm going to first go to the main app. This is the one I would use if I were going to be running frequencies with these electrodes or with the coil. Got to make sure you turn on the Healy so it can connect. Here in just a second, it'll find the Healy with Bluetooth, and it'll connect to it. Should I turn it on? Yep, I've got it on. All right, I did that in the wrong order. I'm going to start the app again, because now I have the Healy on, and it's going to connect right away now. And I hit next, and you'll see that there's all these different program groups: Gold Cycle, Pain, learning, fitness, job, mental balance, beauty and skin, bioenergetic harmony 1 and 2. Here, I'll jump into these so you can kind of see how there's lots of programs in each of these. Bioenergetic harmony 1 has these 12 different programs. This one for the nerves was very instrumental for me, and I had some numbness in my right hand, and especially this pointer finger. And the Healy scans that I'm going to show you in a second would bring up that I need to run this nerves program. So we just learned to kind of trust the Healy and run whatever it says. And over time, that numbness went away. It's pretty cool. I also had a lot of luck with this next one called, on the next page, Bioenergetic Harmony 2, Sciatica Local. I had a lot of sciatic pain in the past. It's gone now. Meridians, you might be familiar with those meridians that are part of like acupuncture and those energy pathways in the body. Chakras, bioenergetic defense, bioenergetic support. So there's just tons of programs you can see here. Even these digital nutrition mixers. Imagine having a supplement for the brain or the hair or the skin, but we have all the frequency information of those vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are used to help with those issues. And we can send that information as a frequency into your bioenergetic field and have an effect as if you were taking that supplement internally. I mean, it's going to be a little different, but it's going to have a lot of that same effect. So very, very cool. Let me just show you, if I go back here, let's say I were to run this one for the nerves right here under bioenergetic vitalization. These are actually programs that have to do with keeping us young, and stem cells and human growth hormone and all the types of things that people are doing for epigenetics and keeping us young, right? I'm gonna run this nerves program right now. It says it'll be about a 38-minute program, and to put these electrodes on the wrist like I have them, or it says you can use the coil. Once you hit start, it transmits those programs or the frequencies over to the Healy by Bluetooth. It was that quick. So there could be dozens or hundreds of frequencies. You'll see it's already sending me 836.7 hertz. This would be one of the frequencies in that group. And it's scanning my field, and now it sees I need 698.7 hertz. This will change every 10 seconds. After about 10 minutes, you'll start seeing progress. It'll have created a queue of 3 or 4 different frequencies that are the most important ones, and you'll see how much percentage your body's utilizing it. So there's a lot of interesting technology going on here to scan your field, adjust the frequencies, and if me and Ray and Lori and you all ran the same program at the same time, we would come up with different frequencies that it chose for you. This little red dot is going to go around the circle for the next 38 more minutes. The white line says that I have good conductivity. You might have seen it go black once or twice there, meaning you don't have good conductivity in the body. Typically, that's if you're dehydrated or you have a lot of other toxicity in your body. But here, even at a 15% intensity, I'm having good conductivity. But normally you could bump that up. If you do see that black line, I'll show you what it looks like here. Even here at 40% now, though, I feel tingling in my fingers. I can sense that energy. But look what happens if I unplug one of these wires. The line will go black because I've interrupted the circuit. My body is part of that circuit of sending the frequencies through from the Healy between both wrists and around that circuit. So that's showing how we can actually run microcurrent frequencies. And what you saw, we had all those different categories. So I'm going to leave that. And I just want to point out one more page we have here called, whoops, let's go to here. The expert programs. We can actually work with one of those time waiver therapists that have the big $40,000 machine, and they can create custom programs or even programs that have disease specific names or symptoms or issues that you're dealing with that we normally wouldn't have that name listed in a consumer device that the FDA would get mad about. You can work with an actual practitioner that can use those kind of names, and they can send you a frequency program downloaded to your Healy, and you own it forever. And they typically charge $40 or $50. It's not that expensive to get one of these, but you'll own it forever on this page. So that's really cool too, that you can work with very specific issues if you want. Another way we can work with specific issues is to either scan your field or look up here in the Heal Advisor. Let me just show you this. Heal Advisor app has several modules. There's one specifically for the bioenergetic revitalization that I was just showing you. Right here, where you can do searches for different topics within that database or digital nutrition. Or there's one just overall here called Heal Advisor Search. And I just want to show you that. I'm going to search in all the databases that are on my Healy. And if I were to type like diabetes, okay, you can see it gives lots of different things that could be related even to diabetes, and you choose whichever you want. If I just click on diabetes, it'll show me all the frequency programs that are recommended by these time waiver therapists or practitioners that you would want to use if you have diabetes. These, you could just focus on these. You can create a schedule of these different programs and just run them each day. You know, I would recommend only doing about 3 of them a day with the wires, but you could run many, many others with that coil through the day if you have the coil as well. So that's one way we can choose which frequency programs. The other way that I like to do is the Heal Advisor Analyze app has different modules as well, depending on your Healy, if you'll have all of these or none of these or some of these modules. But you'll see here's the coaching module that Lori was talking about. There's an aura analysis module if you understand the chakras and those energy centers in the body and how they can affect physical, mental, emotional, everything. That's aura analysis. Resonance analysis is what I'm talking about though right here. This helps me figure out which programs I need to run with my Healy with the wires or the coil. So it's got to find the Healy again. Let me make sure I got it turned on again. Yep, I do. So it'll find it here in just a second. I just click on that serial number right there. let it connect up. And then we have all these different databases you can scan within. So starting here with these ones that start with the word Healy, these are all those different databases you already saw in my Healy. We looked at, for instance, the bioenergetic vitalization programs is where I ran that program, and so on. Gold cycle, job, learning, mental balance, all those different things that we saw. So the way we can scan for that is to go right here to all Healy programs, click that, hit start analysis, and I touch the screen. It's not actually scanning my fingerprint. It's just where we touch the screen to start the analysis. It was just reading my bioenergetic field, and it knows, the Healy's saying, you know, there are frequencies in the fitness programs that you are really needing some help with right now, David. And then there's some also in this deep cycle program, which is a really deep detoxing system in the Healy. And then there's something in Meridians 2 that's important for you, and Meridians 1. And you know, each of these program pages could have anywhere from 4 to 12 programs in normally. So these are all pretty high. All of them are above 50%. So, but number one was the fitness programs at 62%. So what I would typically do is go back in here to another deep dive into the Healy fitness programs. You'll see right here, it says there's 8 programs in this group. Whenever we do one of these scans, it brings up the top 5. So this is going to show which are the top 5 most needed frequency programs right now for me. So number 1 is the one under fitness called weight, and then stamina, and then circulation, and then muscle, and then strength. So weight may or may not refer to like being overweight. It might have to do with just regulating your weight. People sometimes that are overly skinny will get the one for saying weight. It's just the frequencies in that program group that the time waiver practitioners designed are ones that would help regulate your weight, maybe help your metabolism. Maybe it has to do with increasing circulation and oxygen getting delivered to the muscles, or to the connective tissues. And there could be so many things that have to do with weight. That's why there's multiple frequencies in each of these programs. And so I know now that this would be an important program, and maybe this one as well, and this one as well, and I'd run those through the day. And I could go back and look at that list again and say, okay, whoops, that's the list for that. I could say, oh, I also need to do some stuff in the deep cycle. So I would just go in there and scan for that as well. I'll show you that one really quick. Healy deep cycle, there's 12 programs in there. And I scan, and it'll tell me which ones are most important for me. And I could write those down. Some people do this and they write them down. They run these programs for a whole week, the most important ones in the group. Some people like to do it each day and just take the top 5 or 6 or 7 programs and run that through the day. So this one has one called Go to the Roots, Kidney All Male, Breath of Life, and so on. Energy Work, Digest All. Those are the 5 that are most important out of the 12 that are available. Now, another cool thing we can do is the third way of doing frequencies. Okay, we showed you the one with the wires. Lori showed you the coil that lets you do it in the bioenergetic field. And this is also more like in the bioenergetic field, but it's through the quantum field. Okay, this part really kind of screwed with my mind a little bit at the beginning. I was like, how could this be possible? Because they say you could even do these remotely. Notice I had my name in there with my picture. I'm a client in my Healy. I can send these frequencies to me from my Healy, and my Healy can be in the other room. It doesn't have to be right on me in that case. I can send frequencies to my little grandson across town, or to a friend in a whole nother country, because it's through quantum entanglement. It's like dialing into a radio station. We're all connected. There's a way to dial into a person. If you know people that do energy type work, they already do this kind of thing. They do remote work with people. If you've heard of like Reiki, for instance. So it is doable. And how you do that, you just hit actions, you do vibrate, you choose the default is 1 minute and 20 seconds, but they have all these preset lengths. I'll just do one that's about 37 seconds, so it doesn't take us quite so long. But what it's doing now is it's sending all these frequencies, or frequencies from these different 5 programs here that came up in my scan result, is sending them into my bioenergetic field. It's balancing that energy. It does end up having an effect internally with us. It's a little more, might be a little more subtle than using the wires, but it does work. And it's pretty amazing how it works, even with people in other parts of the country or the world. So that is how you do that. Notice it has the blue wavy line means it's still scanning my field. So it's still checking to see which frequencies I need out of this. the reason there's a red wavy line is it's showing that there's information being sent into my field as well. So this is that third form of frequencies. It's also known as radionics, but it's in the quantum field using quantum entanglement. Okay, so hopefully that's really interesting to you. There are other databases, by the way, if you're familiar with things like, let me just show you here. Popular ones are Bach flowers, creative homeopathy. You might be familiar with I Ching, which is traditional Chinese medicine. Schussler salts are one of my wife and I is one of our favorites to do scans in. So some of these will even show emotional type things. Let me just show you on Schussler salts real quick. It's kind of interesting what it can work on beyond just physical things here. So present state, inner pressure and lack of self-esteem, but it wants to move you towards a mineral balance through zinc chloride, which will strengthen one's self-confidence, promoting the courage to make mistakes, certainty that you love for your own sake. So, it can get into some of the emotional things that these different minerals and stuff, because I'm sure a lot of you, if you're into holistic health at all, you know that your physical issues affect your emotions and your emotional issues affect you physically, and it's all related. So that's interesting there too. Let me just show you really quick now how we actually, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and share my computer screen so you can see how you would get a Healy and what do they cost, those kind of questions. Okay, so here we are. I got a presentation here. I'll hit play and talk about the Healy editions and prices. So there's the Healy. We can control it from your smartphone or a tablet. We do also have a thing called a Healy watch, which is pretty cool. It's like a Fitbit type watch, but it'll even scan for things like heart rate variability and all sorts of other things. It's got sensors on the back side of it that are beyond what other watches like that would do. And then it actually will have a set of Healy programs that it'll suggest from based on that kind of scans through the day. So there are 5 editions of the Healy. Everyone would normally start with a Healy though. 5 different price points, but the hardware is the same. You're really paying for not the hardware, that's a little piece of it, but you're paying for the edition. What software do you have? Which program groups, right? Learning or job or bioenergetic harmony or skin or beauty, all these different programs. They come in some editions and not in others. And the more you spend, the more you get, right? And also program groups like, can you do resonance analysis and aura analysis and coaching analysis and so on. So you could start with a lower priced edition and upgrade later to a higher one, and you don't have to get a whole new Healy because you're just opening up new software. So when you get your Healy, you'll get all the stuff you need to use your Healy, and you get a 2-week money back guarantee, and it's from the day you receive it in the mail. So you can have a full 2 weeks to actually use your Healy and try it out. Here's examples just of all the program groups and all the app modules that might be in your Healy. If your edition doesn't have a certain one that you like, you can pay either some of the things are a one-time larger fee to have it for life, and some things are just set up as a monthly type subscription to add. For instance, the animal module is a monthly subscription that can be added on, but the different editions will have some or most of these programs. So here's an example. The Healy Gold is our lowest priced edition. It's about $506, and it has the Gold Cycle set of frequencies. These were developed by one of those practitioners with Time Waver. Bioenergetic Support has Bioenergetic Boost, which is an immune system booster that was created during COVID. Coherence is very popular, just getting everything in alignment. And then pain programs. These are the 2 that are actually FDA cleared to make us a class 2 medical device, FDA cleared. The search module I showed you where I typed in diabetes, that comes with every edition of the Healy. So that's the least expensive. The most expensive Healy is called the Healy Professional, number 5 out of the 5. And it would normally be about $4,000, but we are having a sale where many of the editions are 45% off. So for about $2,200, you can get even the highest priced professional edition of the Healy right now. But you can see it has 216 programs instead of just 11. And it has 6 app modules instead of just 1. So it's got a lot more to it in all these different categories and app modules here. So in between, we have all these devices, but let me just show you the screen where it shows with the discounts. They're doing all of them except the lowest one. All these other devices or editions are 45% off. So as you go from the gold to the holistic, you go from having 11 different microcurrent programs to 63 programs in all of these categories. When you go to the resonance edition, now you have 98 programs in all of these categories, and you've added that resonance module where I was showing how I did the scans where it told me which programs I should run, the ones that I need the most. So I highly recommend, if you can afford it, to start at resonance or higher. So 45% off of $1,500 is about $833 at this point. This is till the end of the month. Resonance Plus now will add that ARA module and that coaching module that Lori loves so much. That, well, we all love it so much, but Lori understands so much better than the rest of us. And but you also get the deep cycle, learning, and skin programs. So now you're up to 124 programs. And if you go all the way to professional, you'll have 229 programs. You add those digital nutrition and bioenergetic vitalization, which are extremely popular groups of frequencies, beauty, job, and bioenergetic defense as well. So this edition, which many people are doing because 45% off, you kind of want to get the most expensive one you can afford right now, because when the price goes to the normal price, that's a big difference. Instead of $4,041, it's like $2,222.55. So I would recommend doing the professional if you can, but get the highest edition you feel you can afford. And we do have financing available through a company called Klarna. Right at our checkout page, you can get financing as long as your credit's decent. If your credit's great, you can get 0% financing even. The Healy coil is an additional cost, so it's about almost $225. I do highly recommend that as well. So if you're able to get the professional and the coil, you'd be talking, you know, a little under $2,500, and with and then whatever your sales tax is. And that's really all you need. You don't need anything else. There is a pretty cool little, if you can see me still, really cool case you can get if you want, a couple of accessories you may want, but they're pretty low priced. Lastly, you can become a Healy World member, be part of something that we're doing here that's incredible. Like Ray said, he wasn't looking at this necessarily as a business at first. I think Lori might have been the same way, but when I saw this, I instantly saw a business. I said, this is the coolest little device I've ever seen. And I'm an entrepreneur. In fact, I had just quit my job 5 months earlier with the goal of developing online sources of income. And then the Healy came along and said, oh, this is it. This is what I'm looking for. And so this has now been what I do for almost 2.5 years. And it has allowed both my wife and I now do not have JOBs, no just over broke jobs anymore. And we sold our house and we live in an RV. I'm sitting in my RV right now. We're in Colorado this week. We'll be in Montana in a week and a half from now. And we just move around and go where the family is and the friends. And we'll be in Montana. I know we're going north in the winter time, right, when it's getting colder, but it's because our son they're having a baby mid-November. We're going to get to be there instead of being stuck in Virginia where we used to have jobs. So but my point of that is that this can allow freedom. If you're looking for a way to develop another income stream or replace your current income stream, you can do that with this. And why not with this company? They're going to be a multi-billion-dollar company in a few years, right? We might as well get as much of that as we can and help build this company and be compensated well. So you can earn commissions. You can even earn free Healy devices, like Ray had said, which a lot of people, that's their only goal. If that's all you want to do is get your Healy, that's fine. You don't have to be a member at all. If you want to be a member, it doesn't cost you anything. You might just want to refer a few people so you get a second free device. But you may be like me and Ray and Lori, like, you know what, I got to share this with the world. And just along the way, you're going to get some nice paychecks along the way. Okay. So it's very, very nice. I'll stop sharing there. Do we have any questions, or were you guys able to answer questions in the chat? Or are there any that people would like to type in really quick before we hang up? Oh, I do see there's some there.
We've been keeping up pretty good with the questions that are there.
Yeah. Okay. I see that. Yeah. Stimulation or the pain programs and so on. So yeah, you learn all this. Okay. Healy does have an academy where they have training videos, but also your upline sponsor or leaders may have their own training systems in place. I know with my team, we do a live training every Tuesday night. It's recorded, but that's, just for our organization. I know Lori's working with her team all the time as well. So you won't be left in the dark here. I would encourage you to get your Healy, use it and love it and share it. And it's just going to be an awesome ride for you guys. So really glad you're here. Ray and Lori, do you want to say goodnight and any last points that you think I missed out on there? Oh, maybe
Do we
this.
want to-
Yeah, why don't you show Healy? Do you have that?
I don't have one,
I've
but
got mine, but I got to get up to get it. Here, it's right here. It's
I've
sitting
got
on my
one
water.
right here. This is
Okay.
the bank, Healy.
Yes, and you can see
And
I have
this is
mine. It was
the
sitting on.
latest.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have mine sitting on my water bottle here because we can put frequencies into your water with the Mag Healy. But yeah, go ahead, Ray, and tell a little bit more about what this device is.
Yeah, no, they have classic programs in here that address numerous things. I love the energy programs and the tiredness program. There are programs for the atmosphere that you can vibrate to a room with a group of people, like for coherence, just to address the environment or attitude in the room. There's programs that can be vibrated into your water, like what David was showing, for energy or coherence and mood, sleeping. And then there's the Carolyn McMakin programs that incorporate a 2-channel frequency to address numerous other issues for muscles and sleeping and tendons and bones and digestion. I had dinner a little while ago and I turned it on and laid it on my gut to with the digestion programs on there, it works too, boy. We're
Yeah,
excited about it.
yeah, the point of this is brand new. What, a month or 2 months at the most that this has been out and here in the United States. So Healy is developing more and more products. So over time, you're going to fall in love with your Healy. You're going to want a Mag Healy someday. You'll want additional things that come out over time. So that's another exciting thing about if you were to build a business with us. There's going to be these additional product lines that would come out that your organization will want to use and will, of course, increase income. So we're obviously always looking for leaders here, and we'd love to talk to you more on the business side as well. Lori, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and please share the recording as soon as it's ready, because as we all know, sharing is caring.
All right, thank you, everyone. Yes, this will be recorded, or it has been recorded, and I should have this uploaded to YouTube within the hour, and you can get the link from whoever shared this with you. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank
night, all.
you.